Hello everybody, welcome to a very, very special carpool karaoke episode of Rethinking Resources. In this special episode, we're driving here in an electric car today from OMV's head office over to a fast-charging OMV filling station located on the edge of Vienna. At that filling station, we will have a short break to recharge the car as well as ourselves with a little snack. Here with me in the car, we have two great guests today. In the passenger seat, we have Lina Mosshammer from the public benefit organization, the VCÖ. That's an O with the two little dots on top. To pronounce it correctly, the VCÖ. The goal of VCÖ is an ecologically compatible, economically efficient, and socially equitable transport system. So she is exactly the right person to have with us in this episode. Behind the wheel today, we have Eric Schulze, a senior vice president at OMV. Eric is responsible for retail mobility and convenience. So he's actually in charge of the filling station we're going to. So he'll know all about that and be able to tell us where we're headed and why that is so important. Next to me, you'll be seeing in the car, I have Christian, who's the head of our Technic team. He'll be making sure that all the technology works for us in this special episode. We've got cameras, microphones, and all kinds of bells and whistles for this one, so Christian's gonna be very important. I'm here in the role of backseat driver and moderator for the session. Fittingly, as we roll emission-free through the Austrian capital, we will be talking about future trends in sustainable mobility for this episode. So let's dive right into it. Lina, are we doing it right? Is electric carpooling the way forward?
So it's, for sure it's part of it. And we are doing two things right already. We are carpooling, meaning there is more than one person in the car, which is not often the case and already solves one of the issues. And we are using an electric car. In best case, in Austria, we are already quite good with sustainable and renewable energy. In general, I would say we're on a good track. We do have really good strategies. They need to be and they can be improved. I would say the most important thing we have to do right now is to really get into action. So not just talk about it, not just to create strategies, but really take action and do something.
Okay, thanks. Eric, tell us, where are we going and what does our destination represent in the greater scheme of things?
Oh, these are two questions. The first one is we are going to Stockerau, which is an emotional place for us. Because we in OMV, we have been part of the mobility journey also some years. We installed and let other companies install hundreds of chargers at our filling stations. But last year we did a change there. We said this is so important for the future journey of our society and for the future of mobility that we want to own it and want to run it ourselves. So we started last year to say, hey, let's build our own chargers, let's build a system behind, and let's be ready for Santa Claus to recharge in Vienna. And we made it with Stockerau. It's the first OMV Emotion charger, which we just got in time ready 24th of December for Santa Claus as the first charger. By now we have 44, right? But this was really the first one. So when we go Stockerau, we go e-mobility, OMV Emotion. So that's why it's emotional to go to Stockerau. And the wider themes, I just said, in OMV nobody questions anymore that e-mobility is the future of individual mobility for passenger cars. Full stop. Okay. And that's the wider thing. And as we have been there for 1 million customers each day, 200,000 toilet flushes each day at our filling stations, we have been there for them in the past for their mobility needs. We will be there for them in the future for their mobility needs. And this includes e-mobility. And that's why we do whatever it takes to give our customers also the option to recharge on the go, not only with coffee and toilets, but with e-mobility and e-charging, and also with the conventional fuels. That's the wider thing.
So if the demand is there, you will follow.
We are building the bridge. We are even there before the demand is there. When you as a consumer, we say it's a lifetime choice when you go e-mobility. When you as a consumer make the choice, I give a little more because the car is a bit more expensive, and maybe get a little less because it's a bit more complicated. We are there for you. We are waiting for you on the other side of the bridge.
Okay, so e-mobility is an extremely important piece in the puzzle, but it's not the whole key, the whole big picture for sustainable mobility. Lina, the big picture, what do we need to do? What could we be doing even better?
So we have set goals. We need to reach climate neutrality, and wow, it's urgent. So we need to take steps. But I would say it's also a big chance to take those steps, because at the moment we don't really have an equality when it comes to mobility. And I mean, just imagine every day you go out, there's so many cars, there's so much noise. You maybe don't even have a walking path to get to the next bus station or to your car. So for me, it's also, or in general, it's just a chance to really change something and to create something which is maybe even more comfortable, and which is also more green, just nicer and more relaxed. And yeah, and we just need to take that chance, but that also means to create equality between the different modes and between the different options we have. And of course, supporting the more sustainable means of transport. This, for example, means just take a look outside. We are right now in Vienna, and you take a look at the Ringstraße. The Ringstraße, the ring road around the city center, has up to 9 to 10 lanes just for cars. And then there is one lane, in most of the cases, where it's mixed, so cycling and walking on one lane, and then there are 9 to 10 lanes for the car. So we need to take a look at those things and really to say what can we do that we have equality between the different modes and to support more sustainable modes. Only if we do that, and if we aim for this, sustainable mobility will be comfortable, and also the more comfortable choice for everybody. And of course, you have different needs every day. Sometimes you're maybe on your way to work, sometimes you're with children, sometimes you need to carry something. So we really need to take a look at what is needed and how can we make sustainable mobility like the comfortable and good choice.
Since we just passed some electric trains, so beyond the roads and onto the rails and onto waterways and to airways, what's the big picture? How can we really meet our goals with sustainable mobility?
I think you really need this big picture. So don't look at one solution or like just electric cars, but really to look at everything there is, from walking to cycling to e-bikes to different trains, buses, flex buses, call me buses, cars, different ways. So there is so much, and it's getting more and more and more. I mean, just think about e-scooters. Or e-bikes. Just a few years ago, nobody knew what it is, or just a few people used it, and now it's everywhere. So we have more and more possibilities, and all of these options have different qualities, or fulfill different needs. So we need to take a look at this big picture, and I think we also have to plan this way to really have an integrated system which is connected to each other and works as a whole. So if I as a person just want to get from A to B, and I need to have a system where I can get from A to B in a sustainable way. Of course, there are different steps to it. So it's not just about shifting, it's not just about improving, it's not just about avoiding trips, it's all together. So it's really all those steps together to reach that goal.
Okay. I have a question for Eric coming up. Eric, by the way, you're doing a great job driving. I'm very impressed with you being able to answer questions and drive at the same time. We just crossed over the River Danube. We're merging into busier traffic. But Lina, you just touched on something really important. So I want to follow up on it. Your organization says we need to rethink the way we move around. We need to avoid traveling in wasteful ways. We need to switch to alternatives. But this is all happening at a time when people want more and more, and they want it to be easier, they want it to be cheaper. So can those competing demands work? Will it work out?
I think so. I really have the hope that it does, because we need it. I don't want to think about what comes if we don't. So let's just focus on we do it. We can achieve those goals. And as said, there's three simple steps. So avoid, shift, and improve. And I know avoid sounds really bad. So to avoid something, but it's also something positive. Just think about being able to do home office once in a while, or for example, just having a short walk to the supermarket instead of driving somewhere. So really to shorten those trips, to do less, but also to get more free time because of it. To shift, maybe try something out. It's not always about doing something not at all anymore and doing something new all the time, but just trying out new things, trying out public transport, biking, walking. There's always something new. I'm talking with so many people, and in many cases, they don't even know what's around them. As an example, I've been to an event, a TEDx event on sustainability in general. And the host was trying to organize, like, how do people get there? Because the train station and also the bus station was about a kilometer outside of this village. And they did fetch us, so by car altogether, to like drive this last kilometer. And then he found out there's actually already a Call Me Bus system there. So, and just take a look, there is maybe already a car sharing system. And then there is, of course, the improvement of technologies, of services we already have. I mean, we're right now in an electric car. So that's this last step to improve what we already have. And we need all those 3 steps to really make it.
Steve, maybe if I can add there. I mean, you touch a very vivid point. It's like when we go to our filling station, you will see every person in the society of Austria is visiting a filling station now and then. So this is one of the places where the society is not separated. We don't have the restaurants for the rich and restaurants for the poor. We don't have a business class. There are no senators, frequent travelers. It's a filling station. In the morning, you have the businessman, you have the night shift workers, you have the nurse, the blue collar worker, you have everyone is going there. And we have I would say, responsibility for society to create a public value by allowing mobility now and in the future. And it shouldn't become a luxurious good for the rich. I think that's something that we feel that we need to let the society fulfill their mobility needs. And at the same time, nobody denies that we must change dramatically. So all what Lina said is absolutely correct. We must change. We can't burn in the speed of the last 100 years the underground forests and emit the CO2 in such a speed. So we need to do something. And I think what we in OMV, beyond e-mobility that we talked about this a bit, is like we want to find CO2 or the carbon where we find it in recycling, in biocomponents, maybe for airlines in the synthetic routes through electrolyzers. I mean, that's all very technical, but we need to find it somewhere alternative than to take it out of the ground, and at the best to avoid it. And I think that's a bit the philosophy of OMV, to take it not religious or fanatic, but to find the most efficient solution for each mode of transport, to offer the alternatives to the society, to say, hey, here's an alternative. We develop this as an industry. It's our job to do it. And then let's cross that bridge together to go for, if we can't avoid it, to go for a less CO2 intense mode of transport.
Okay, let me take you further on that thought. Let's go further down the road with those thoughts. OMV and its subsidiaries have thousands of patents, are developing new technologies. So are you a firm believer that technology will solve these problems? Is this the mindset, that technology will smooth the way forward and solve our problems?
It would be too easy to say this. Technology is an enabler, but what I answer differently, Steve. I think the core of it is the humankind in history did marvelous things when they ran into problem. And if we acknowledge together that we have a big issue on this planet, that we are entering the biggest dying of species on this planet that we ever had in history on this planet Earth, and we need to change something. If we accept this, we can together innovate and change as a society, change as an industry, and change together. And then technology is an enabler in this change. But it starts with us, with our desire to change, and I think we are willing to change. I mean, we all had to go our way. You as a consumer, you, Lina, me, we all go through that process. But then technology can be an enabler, yes.
Okay. Lina, here we are in an electric car. So e-mobility has clearly arrived. It works. But let's question that. Is electric mobility the absolute best road to go down? Because there are other possibilities like hydrogen or e-fuel powered vehicles. Could other options be even better?
So as said, we are on the road already, and we need to fasten up to really reach our goals. And I think the easiest way to say it is to just say we need to take the most efficient way. And especially when it comes to vehicles, we just have to choose the most efficient way to be sustainable. And e-fuels are expensive. They're really, really inefficient. and they're not yet really produced. So if you take a look worldwide, there may be 60 projects which are announced that they're going to produce e-fuels, and even if they all implement the ideas, even if they all produce, it's 10% of what Germany needs. So just think about that. They are not available, they're inefficient, they're very costly. So in general, it's not a good idea to use them. Of course, there are sectors like aviation where we don't have any other options at the moment. So yes, we need them. They are part of the solution, but not when it comes to road transport. That's very important to us. And I mean, we've already talked about it. When it comes to private cars, it's electric mobility because it's the most efficient way. I always, in many cases, I tell the story because it's just maybe it's more understandable if you like create a picture in your head. If you drive a car with e-fuels, you would get with the same amount of energy from Vienna to Tulln. It's a really short distance. If you take the same amount of energy and drive an electric car, you get to Salzburg and further. So just imagine that. I mean, it's
so that's
just not worth it.
That's more than triple the
Yes.
distance.
Maybe if I can interrupt you, we use the same analogy. We say with 20 kilowatt hours, I can go 100 kilometers in an electric car. In a combustion engine, so fossil fuel, it's 40, 45-ish. The same for hydrogen, 40, 45-ish, and e-fuels is 15, 1.5. It's the worst combination of a combustion engine technology with an electrolyzer hydrogen technology. So for road transportation, no way. We are like in violent agreement that that's not the option.
Okay.
Airlines are different.
Yeah, and I'd like you to pick up on the point because addressing the question of electric mobility, maybe what we're getting at is it depends on what kind of mobility we're talking about. Because in the aviation sector, OMV is placing a bet on e-fuels, on biofuels. It's part of your CEO's big vision. So you're saying yes for aviation, but it may not fill the gap, may not be possible in other mobility sectors.
Yeah, for aviation, and I mean, we need for aviation all hands on deck. Yeah, we need the biocomponents, the famous used cooking oil that we discussed now. Yeah, that we collect also with Münzer at our stations now, used cooking oil, and we can fly on Schnitzelfett. We can fly on Schnitzelfett.
So Austria is well positioned.
Austria is well positioned, and it's a question if you should eat that much meat for the future of the planet. But Schnitzelfett in itself is definitely helping our airport here in Schwechat. But of course, used cooking oil is not the solution for the entire air transport. Yeah, be clear. And there are areas on this world where the sun is shining, the wind is blowing, and you get to this wonderful hydrogen, green hydrogen. And then you need a carbon connected to it. So you need a carbon like in the surrounding that you can capture from the air wherever. And then you let the magic of chemistry happen in countless 20 steps. But it is not deniable that it is an option for airplanes, and we shouldn't stop it now.
Maybe if I may add, it's in many cases even when it comes to strategies, we always take a look at different sectors. So we only look at the mobility sector, transport sector, we only look at the housing sector, and we don't have this like overview. And if you take the overview, we will need a lot of energy. And because of that, we have to reduce the energy we need in each sector with all those new technologies, with all those changes we have. And that's why we also need in mobility to focus on this most efficient way and to really have this big picture, how much do we need and how much can we reduce? And we will not make it if we use the inefficient ways. Also right now it's a big challenge, but it will be an even bigger and not solvable challenge if we not focus on those most efficient ways of transport. And I just want to add on biofuels, it is part of the solution, but it's a very difficult one when it comes to sustainability, because of course it can be Schnitzelfett, but there is just a certain amount of like biomass that is actually sustainable, and it's actually not in rivalry with, for example, what we eat. So it's really difficult to scale it up, and we need to see that there is this limit. So we need the different sources of energy and really focus on the truly sustainable ones. And when it comes to e-fuels, this will be a really big challenge. because of course it will not all be produced in Austria. So we really have to set targets. We have to focus on transparency. We have to focus on like social standards wherever we produce, to really ensure that all of these things we do are sustainable and truly sustainable.
Okay, so Eric, you've heard a bit what Lina envisions. Do her solutions and strategies line up with what OMV is thinking?
Yeah, I think much what was said is common sense also in the industry, and it's like as said before, in violent agreement, with OMV and also with NGOs and other parties there, what needs to be done. I think here and there, there's a little twist when we say we should boost innovation in the entire sector of mobility. We should boost and let it allow, and don't start with regulation now and then first. I sometimes see, just as a mild observation, that the regulation is faster than the technology evolves. So in Brussels, they're already developing things and regulations for topics that haven't been even innovated right now and haven't reached the market. And I think we should start there first in order to let's say, molecules and innovation flow to the products where there is the highest also early mover perception or early mover acceptance in the market. To have those who want to pay the most get those circular molecules the first. And that's something that I see, wir zerlegen den Bären, bevor wir ihn gejagt haben.
So if I'm going to take a shot at translating that, we cannot prepare the dead bear until the bear is dead. So,
and maybe you have a more positive symbol for it. So, and you get we in OMV, we actually every week we are excited to hear what our colleagues do in aviation, what the colleagues do in the refinery to co-process more biocomponent and blend into the fossil fuels as a bridge to have it less CO2 intense, also on the fossil side. What we do in the marine sector to have less sulfur in, to have less emissions from what we do. It's it's not 0-1. We are on a journey. We are clearly going to that journey, but there are many steps in between, and we should cheer every little step that we can do and ask for doing it faster and faster and faster. At least that's the mindset that we have, and we cheer it internally for whatever we find.
This is an important and pretty exciting point, but Lina, so innovators are going to innovate, but maybe at their own speed. So should innovation lead regulation, or should regulation make innovation mandatory?
I would say it's in synergy, so it should be back and forth, kind of. Innovation and looking for new ideas shouldn't be an excuse to slow things down or to not set, for example, on electric mobility for cars, because it's the way to go. But I think it's very important to have this synergy, to have the regulation to make sure we're on the right path, to set certain steps to really reach what we want to achieve. But I think at the same time, innovation is important, and innovation is part of the deal. But as said, it should be back and forth with regulation. And if we see in regulation there is a change, of course there's the possibility to change, but it shouldn't slow down, and it shouldn't be in rivalry with goals we have set, or we say, okay, we have to set on that kind of solution, like e-mobility, because it's the most efficient one and it's the one we have right now and which already works really well.
So the EU has set the ambitious target of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and reaching climate neutrality by 2050. That has meant making the 2030 targets more aggressive. Is this the right dosage of regulation? Are we on the right path?
I think that regulation is really, really good, because it says we have to reach the goal. And it's kind of a bit open how to do it, but the goal is set and we just need to reach that goal. And we can see that it pushes things. For example, there is the Nationale Energie- und Klimaplan, so there is a plan which is on climate, which is designed by the Austrian government to say that we need to set those kind of measures to reach that goal. And they measured at the moment we're not there yet, because there is still a 13% gap, and they're asking right now for what kind of other measures could we do to really reach that goal. but you can see they are eager to reach it, and they see what do we have to need, what do we have to do, what do we have to add to get there. And that's like the push we need. And as said in the beginning, we have the push, we have the strategies, we might need to add, and we do have to add more measures, we have to be more aggressive maybe even on that measures. But it's time for action, it's time for implementing, it's time for showing the people how good also sustainable mobility can be, and how like more relaxed, nicer mobility in our surroundings will be if we have that future.
So we've arrived at the charging station, but before we we break off and charge the car, Eric, your chance to respond, if you want to pick up on these points. Regulation targets.
Yeah, I think about it. It's like I think we are beyond the point to discuss now if a target is reachable or if you should set the target in a different way, because.
So you don't think we're going to miss? Because
that's not what I said. I said we agreed on a target. Yeah. Let's go for it and let's do whatever is possible to make that target. It's like, in the society, in the industry, in the regulation, in the government, let's together see that target, accept that we have to do something, because we damn have to do something as a society for the kids to give them a planet that is a favorable place to live on. And we have to do it, so let's accept the target and let's work on the solution instead of negotiating the target again and again and again and shifting the target. This doesn't solve anything.
OMV is a major player in the fossil fuel sector. Now it's aiming to play a leading role as a solutions provider in sustainable mobility. Tell us about the big vision.
So I start with the vision here. It's the first one for Santa Claus that we stand next to. By today, 44. Now till year end, every week we open another charger. And if the society migrates faster, we cheer the society and we will be with society wherever we can. And let me allow to say this, where the grid connection allows me to be with the society, because this grid connection topic is a challenge for all of us. But this is not an excuse. We need to get over it as a society with our partners. And they are also working on it, they see it, and then we make it. And if we move faster, happy, then we can move faster.
Okay, and you've mentioned Santa Claus a few times. We know Christmas did come last year, so things are on track. Is everything moving at the speed it's supposed to? Is it going faster than you expected? What's the pace of this?
We are surprised, actually, that when you open a charger, within 24 hours, without being listed in Google or wherever, you have the first paying customer. It's amazing. It's like we exceed, alone here in Stockerau, easily over 1,000 customers already made their way to Stockerau to charge their car here. So that is going quite well. Where we do have challenges is getting the grid connections. Where you are on the go, where you're traveling, and where you want to recharge. Usually that's not the place where the highest electricity grid is being built for. The electricity grid got built for a filling station with some fridges, with some pumps, with an oven or a Mary Chef and 2 wonderful Chimberley coffee machines in our case, which you will test. But that's not the fridge. When you think about, and just derailing your question about a summer weekend on the West Autobahn, the amount of energy that we transfill in the cars, fuel in the cars at a summer weekend on West Autobahn is bigger than the entire electricity demand of the city of St. Pölten on that day.
Okay.
So now you know the challenge. So
okay. Lina, let's be optimistic. Let's imagine that we do get it right. What do roads and mass transit look like in 2030 and beyond? Are we carpooling in a self-driving electric car? Are there, let's hope, less traffic jams because cars are smarter, moving more efficiently, sustainably? Are the roads safer? What's the vision in the best case scenario?
Maybe before we get to the vision, and I'm happy to draw a very hopefully positive vision. I mean, I envision a positive one. I would say the biggest things we need to do now is, as said, get in action, but also it's a balance of mindset and collaboration, because we do already have the strategies. We do most of the cases we have the financing, or it's possible to get the financing, but now we have to have the mindset, and I'm talking about every one of us, but also players like OMV to really have the mindset to reach that goals and to work together, and then to have this collaboration to really make it work, to have this integrated system where everything is connected and easy to use, but at the same time sustainable. And that's the vision I have. I mean, just think about it. You go outside, and the thing what you want to do is to get from A to B, and in the best way possible, and have also nice surroundings. So really have more green, have more trees, have like a pleasant way to get there, and at the same time do it in a sustainable way. It could be that you go out, you're cycling. If it's raining, maybe you take the bus at the station. You already have Wi-Fi. You can see when the bus is coming, and maybe the Call Me bus for the last mile. It already shows you, okay, today you're traveling with 3 other people. There is a seat. Do you want to book it? So really have this travel idea, but in a sustainable way, and really to see all the options we have and integrate them all together. I think it's a really nice vision. It's a positive one. And I think it's a good thing if we take something positive out of things like this podcast today, to take it with us, to try new things, and to see, hey, it will be a challenge. It will be, maybe at some points it will be hard, but we will have a good future if we do all of this.
Okay, thank you very much. Eric, any last thoughts on the vision and whether we can get there?
I think I transported now beyond mobility to this filling station that we just reached, yeah? If I'm allowed to say, because like what you say, you know, Lina, for the society, and how you bring it together, and we have the tools, and you see such a traditional filling station now, we have photovoltaic panels now installed in the last year on 300 of those roofs. So half of the electricity without EV charging of these stations are produced by themselves. Of course, we change temperatures in the fridges. We change temperature in like how long we run the coffee machine open, whatever you do. And here and there, you find 5% of electricity. You find 2% of electricity, which we can then use for this device, right? Yeah. It's like everywhere, when you get to the mindset, you find something. And it's not all about money. It's about being circular and being sustainable. And when we get this into you, then I'm not afraid at all that we as a society can do miracles together, and OMV is part of it. And maybe a front runner now and then.
Okay. And to come back to that juicy quote, I thought of a slightly better translation. That's, you can't butcher the bear until the hunters have done their job, right? So
let's hunt a bit at the beginning.
Let me say thank you to both of you. We are fully recharged. We're also fully caffeinated. We are about to arrive safely and sustainably back at OMV headquarters. So thank you very much to Lina Mosshammer and Eric Schulze for joining us today for this special, sustainably mobile episode of Rethinking Resources. And this is a carpool karaoke version, so we cannot really end without singing a song. The song we've selected is Electric Avenue from Eddie Grant. So hit play. Let's sing.
We're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we take it higher. We're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we take it higher. Woo! Woo!